that's a tremendous looking trophy.
One of the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Don Blight. Joining me, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here. Another week. Last one before? No, we still got another week before Christmas.
I think there's 2 left, isn't there? No? Oh, 2 left in the year. I think there's 2 episodes left for the year or something, isn't there?
Yeah.
1? Fuck, I don't know. What's the date? What is time? What is time? Yeah, 2 episodes left. Well, Jesus Christ, the last one for the year will come out on the 31st as well. There you go. Who'd have thought? So this week in the trophy cabinet, bronze trophy for Arise, a simple story. It's a game. We're going to talk about it. Silver trophy for our first look at a PS5 game. There's a PS5 game. We're going to talk about it. A gold trophy for the new PlayStation hire. There's somebody. They're firing people. They're hiring people. What are they doing over there? And we hit a platinum for the Ghost of Tsushima's brand new trailer that dropped at the Game Awards on Friday. So Arise, I had to talk about it last week, but then the show kind of got like state of play, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what, I'll save it for next week. It's fine. So, wrote up a review for this one, of course, over at explosionhelp.com. Gave it a 7 out of 10, saying playing Arise is often frustrating, so I suggest being aware of that before playing it. But when the music, visuals, and moments in the gameplay just mix perfectly, it's this colourful cocktail to pull on all your feelings out of nowhere, because although it's a simple tale, it's one we can all relate to. So this was a game we first saw in a... Was it a state of play? I think so. Yes.
Yeah, it was the previous state of play.
Yeah. Previous one, yeah. So... you play as this character, this male character, protagonist, really unnamed. The game starts with them being burnt on a pyre. So I guess that kind of gives you the idea of like, I guess, Norse-ish or something like that. I guess like kind of culture would be doing that. And then the character appears in like, I guess, limbo-ish state. And then over the course of 10-ish levels, I think it was, you basically travel through his entire life, and you see his life from young man through to or teenager, I guess he'd possibly be teenager through to towards the moment he died, of course. And then yeah, so it's like a rising to heaven. It's, as the title suggests, it is a rather simple story when it boils down to it, and it tells all of its story through nothing but music and these stone statues that appear throughout the levels that like show you what he was doing at this time, and most importantly what he was doing with this woman who appears in the first level as well, who very easily is like set up to be his this girl he really likes, and then of course they become lovers, and so on and so forth. They have and the game's like a love story when it comes down to it, really. It's that's what it's about. It's really kind of a love story told without any words or anything like that. The 2 standout things to this game are its art style. Art direction is really, really good. The game is gorgeous. It's really very, very pretty. Pretty. The game has also across every different level. It's kind of very unique and very different. So none of the levels feel samey at all. And then the number one thing, my favorite thing from this game, is the music. It has a really, really fantastic soundtrack that unfortunately I cannot, it's not on Spotify yet, and it's doing my freaking head in because I really want to listen to it because it's really, really, really good. That's done by David Garcia. Really beautiful music. The reason I only give it a 7 and not higher, as much as I really liked it, because it got to me like emotionally. It's the way it was telling the story is really, really heartfelt and everything. The reason I suggest going in with a warning is because the platforming is what lets it down. It is often frustrating. It just does that like age-old thing where the platforming is frustrating because you'll go to jump across a platform and it doesn't have like the depth of field quite right, or like it just doesn't orchestrate that to you as a player, and then you'll be falling to your death or like tripping over, all these weird sorts of things. He dies very easily from, well, quote unquote dies, because I mean he's in limbo. I don't know how it works, but anyway, if he falls from like even small-ish heights, and there's like a couple times where these platforms would be like going up and down, and he'd be, for whatever reason, the platform would start going down, and he would like float in the air for a hot second as the platform went down, and then he would fall on it and die, and I'd be like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me with this shit? You also have to hold like a certain button to climb, and that becomes kind of tedious at points, but so that's kind of why I'd mark it down. I think if none of that's going to bother you, you'll have a much greater time with the game than I did, because it did bother me to the point where I was kind of just yelling at my screen and being like, are you fucking kidding me with this shit? Because I died like nearly 10 times at one point. That it was just not hard. It was just because I couldn't tell the distance to jump. It was really quite annoying. But all the other elements from the game though, I really, really enjoyed. And once again, especially the music. If I'm chucking together a top music of the year from games list, the soundtrack from Arise would be on that list for sure. Let's jump into some PlayStation news now. And we'll start with the big one, because why not? So Ghost of Tsushima showed up at the Game Awards. Of course, they teased that we'd be getting a full trailer during the State of Play last week that we talked about, and they played it. It's, how long is it if I click play it? It's 4 minutes 30, so yeah, it is quite a lengthy trailer. And at the end of the trailer, they revealed, they being Sucker Punch, I guess, PlayStation, Sucker Punch, whatever, revealed that the game is coming summer 2020. So pretty much on the precipice of next-gen territory there, you know? What I'm estimating it's going to come out. What did I say? I think I was saying like so not September. Just probably August. So August, September. Late August or like, yeah, September or something like that. It's kind of what I'm going to take off that information. So the trailer shows what we saw in the State of Play thing, of course, first, like the teasing is off the distance, smoke bomb disappears. Then we see some fighting scenes where he's sneaking around places and some combat and these sorts of things. It's still really hard to tell, like, if the game is... I don't think it's like Sekiro, obviously. I think the game's going to try to do a much better balance of being like, we want to make the combat more challenging, but we also aren't making it Soulsborne. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're going to try and hit a balance of not be like button mashy, but like
God of War, like
Batman.
Yeah, Batman, God of War-esque, like more that kind of region.
Yeah, so it's like there is elements to it that's a challenge, and you have to like click buttons right, and you can't just button mash. But I definitely don't feel like the Sucker Punch would try and do a Sekiro, Bloodborne, Dark Soulsy combat thing.
No, the thing that sprung to mind, and maybe it's just because of the shots with him jumping down from just like on top of people and the arrows. I was thinking more along the lines of the Shadow of Mordor, that kind of worlds. I feel like it's going to be an open world-esque game.
Oh, it definitely feels.
After,
it definitely looked open world to me.
I feel like there's going to be initial before he dies or whatever, or maybe that's the footage we saw at E3 those couple of years ago, before everything turns to shit and he becomes this ninja ghost person.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, it's going to be like a open world tower-esque, take down all the camps and that kind of thing. Story, well, that's going to be part of the game, but maybe not the entire story. Yeah, but yeah, that's the vibe I got. I definitely feel like it's going to be open world, given so like it gets to a point in the trailer where it just starts showing a bunch of different locations and shots, and that's the best part of the trailer, I think, because it just shows off beautiful different environments and big ocean section, like riding a horse through this big grass and all these sorts of stuff. You can definitely tell that, because at the start of the trailer, it's also like it's a mix of gameplay and like the cinematic stuff. And obviously, like the start seemed in-engine, like gameplay, because the character models looked a little bit worse than at the end, where it seems like it's obviously a cinematic. So, bit of mix there. But also, it seems like he's got we know from the first reveal, it's like he's got this grapple hook thing, you know, whatever. And then on the box art and everything, you can see he's got like a bow and arrow or whatever, and then some other bits and pieces and whatever. I think the game is probably going to have that sort of, you know, going to get gadgets along the way, which suits for Sucker Punch. You know, it suits what games they're kind of known for doing. You know, get different gadgets, different levels. You know, increase the ways you can use those for not only combat but also like getting access to areas and these sorts of things. And yeah, it definitely looked open world to me, especially if you're riding a horse around on so much. You know what I mean? Like, going to be riding a horse around doing these things. I don't know how much the side questy stuff I would like to do in this sort of the game, because I'm like, does that suit the character if he's stopping to be like, hey, like, what side quest you got for me to do now for 500 fucking rupees or whatever? I don't know if that thematically fits the the story that's being told or not, but I don't know. We'll see. There's also like a really cool scene where like he's walking along slowly and he sees like barrage of fiery arrows like coming down and stuff, that I'm like, okay, are we just storming this place? And then at the end of the trailer, it teases, I guess, the big bad guy, but they never reveal what that person looks like or anything, because like he's on a bridge and he yells out, and then door opens, but then just like cuts to black after that. So they're not revealing what that person looks like. But I'm like, I mean, what could they look like? Like
Asian, probably.
Yeah. I mean, probably.
Or maybe not.
Maybe that's a big twist.
It's a white person.
There you go, the ultimate enemy. I have to say, so I watched the trailer in Japanese as well, and I just think, honestly, so this is the problem I have. I'm like, I find it really weird watching it in English because it just feels weird. Like my brain is like, because of the setting and everything, it actually makes it want to be like, I feel like this would just work better, not like in Japanese. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I watched that trailer. No?
I mean, I'm probably going to play it in English. I mean, just
my one problem,
just small stuff, like stuff that's not in cutscenes and that kind of thing. It's like, do I want to read subtitles for everything? That's my worry. So other than that, I think, I mean, it'd be cool to be able to play it completely. It's cool that it's an option that they're going to give you to play it completely in Japanese if you want to play it completely in Japanese. But I feel like just like background noise and that kind of thing, like that's like incidental dialogue and that kind of thing.
Random things that you're just walking around and people are talking or anything like that you just pick up and you'll be able to hear, but I won't be able to understand it, so I'll miss out on,
unless it's put up subtitles for that.
Yeah, but even then, I'm like, surely it can't.
Like, how much on my UI can they take up with subtitles?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like I'll probably end up playing it in English solely for that factor because I feel like not would ruin the experience. But having watched the Japanese trailer, I did feel like it just, like watching that with the characters, it just obviously felt more
just fit better.
Fit better, obviously, than having them speak English. You know, because I always think about this one time when Quentin Tarantino talked about Inglourious Bastards and like how they, you know, the only people that speak English are actually English speaking people. There was an interview where someone's like, "Oh, why'd you have them speak German and stuff?" And he's like, "Because it's set in Germany. They speak fucking German." Like he's like, it's like such a non-question to him. He's just like, it makes sense. So that's why they speak German. That's how it works. So I just think for things like this, it's like, well, it just makes sense. It's what works. Little bit of information though. Andrew Goldfarb, ex-IGN, of course, who's now the communications manager over at Sucker Punch, wrote this little thing on the PlayStation blog about it, saying, "Today we debuted a brand new trailer that delves deeper into the identity of our hero. Delves deeper into the identity our hero is forced to adopt in order to save his home, the Ghost. While Jin starts our game as a samurai, he'll learn skills and adapt tactics that are decidedly not samurai-like, and you can get a small taste in the footage we revealed today. In the months ahead, we'll share more about Jin, the threats he faces, the allies that help him along his journey, and what we'll have to give up to become this new kind of warrior." So I think the thing that most intrigues me, because we haven't actually seen anything yet so far, we've always seen nothing but enemies, and it just seems like he's on a one-man mission. So when they talk about allies in there, I'm like, okay, cool. So we're actually going to have friends. We're not just on this, like, you know, one-man massacre to kill the person who, I guess, tore his village apart and potentially killed him, I guess, when he was younger or something like that. Also, the whole mask thing, I don't fully understand the full, like what that means, like culturally wise, I guess, for the time and what that comes down to. So obviously that's going to be an interesting part of it. And I also think so the first trailer we saw was obviously like a bit of grappling, a bit of sneaking around, but the big part of that trailer was obviously the massive fight as the fire was the fire plus the incoming troops as well in the distance, I guess, was like the whole thing. And that made it out very much like the game was going to be. When they showed that first trailer, it was like, okay, very comparable to Sekiro, I guess. People were like eyeing it off at the time. And now it's like a year later and everything, obviously. I think the most recent trailer they're showing, they like didn't show too much of that sort of stuff. And I think it helps really separate from Sekiro for me personally, especially when you're showing like teasing the open worldy stuff, you know, riding around on a horse, like shimmying across rocks, you know, like exploration elements, these sorts of things. So, and that's something I guess I'll have to do a lot over the next couple of months, is do stuff to be like, it isn't Sekiro. It's very different to Sekiro.
Hey, you know that Sekiro won Game of the Year? Wish it was more easy to get into.
Accessible, yeah. Want a game that has an easy mode? Yeah. How about Ghost of Tsushima? How's that go for you? But yeah, I really like the trailer and everything. I'm hyped for this. Did you
Are you keen? Or
yeah, I'm hyped for this. I'm definitely keen for this. It looks so pretty.
It does. It does look very, very pretty. I am still wondering if there's going to be a PS5 release because I'm,
it's so close, but yeah, I suspect there might be a PS5 re-release, but it seems like they're definitely releasing on PS4. I know, yeah, it's so odd.
Day one patch that work better on PS5. I don't know. Talking about PlayStation 5. Yeah. So of course, Godfall was announced during the Game Awards. This third-person action game. It is a looter slasher, but most importantly, it is our first official look at a PlayStation 5 title. Since it's come out, and they've had to actually confirm the fact, because at the end of the trailer it says like PlayStation 5. They've had to come out and be like, that's not actually the PlayStation 5 logo. We just had to put something there. Don't get too hot on your heels about anything that's happening here. But also, one thing I didn't really think about the day of the Game Awards, because I guess I wasn't in full competition mode, but you have, of course, Xbox comes out, they show a trailer for Hellblade 2, and they're like,
yep,
here it is for Series X, the SX, our next generation console. And then the trailer following that was Godfall, which is our first official look at a PlayStation 5 title as far as we know. And I was like, oh, wow, we actually have the competition started, because I didn't realize until I saw people on the internet pointing it out, but they're like, yeah, you can be like, which is better, Hellblade or Godfall? People are already doing that whole starting old console fanboy wars ahead of time kind of thing, And,
didn't take long.
Didn't take long at all. But yeah, so Godfall is our first PS5 game. I think obviously it looks quite pretty. I've seen a bunch of, I don't know where they're coming from. I have no idea. I can't figure it out, but there's like one particular GIF going around on the internet I've seen the last 24 hours or so, 48 hours or so over the weekend, of combat from the game. And it looks quite fluent and fast, and the animations look really, really good. None of that like screams next gen, just off that. But as far as like judging it just as a game, it seems like it's a good, it looks like a fast-paced third-person action adventure game, I guess. So yeah, we talked about this, of course, a little bit further at length on last week's episode of Arcade Couch, where we covered all the news from the Game Awards. I like it. You like it as well, don't you?
Yeah, looks good. Could be fun. Again, it's hard to tell without actually playing it, but it looks pretty.
Yeah,
it looks next gen-y, kind of.
Next gen-y.
A term we'll be throwing around a lot this year.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. As soon as we go into 2020, it's like, okay, here we go. how many weeks do we go without talking about some PS5 shit? We'll see. Talking about Game Awards though, so I do want to point out a couple of awards that you can kind of give towards PlayStation winning at the show. PlayStation got 3 in my count. So Death Stranding won for Best Performance, Best Music, and then also Best Direction. So Death Stranding picked up 3 awards across the board there, which I think is pretty good, obviously. 3 awards, different things, puts it up there with Disco Elysium. So as one of the higher winners. Of course, it never won any of the big award, which went to Sekiro, however the fuck you want to say it. But no, still quite good. I think, honestly, a lot of us were surprised because I feel like it was. I felt like it was a shoo-in for the thing, but then it would have been. We kind of would have been living in a crazy world if 2 years in a row Sony won a Game of the Year award.
No, we would have been living in the real world.
Real world. I mean, it's going to be interesting going forward when Xbox actually has some games that are nominated. So
yeah, that'll be crazy.
At the moment, they're not even in the ballpark. I mean, they're not even on the board. So
when's the last time one of their games got nominated?
Years ago. I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, good job, Death Stranding, of course. I think all of those were deserved. I was happy with Death Stranding pick up those 2. Next thing is just like an interesting little tidbit. I don't really have much to say about it, but I find it funny. I like when developers do this sort of thing. So of course, Resident Evil 3 remake got announced officially during the State of Play last week. We talked about that and everything. That's cool. They then put up a new demo for Resident Evil 2, and they've now added in right at start, if you like turn around and turn right where the demo loads you in, you can now hear the screaming noise of just mental blanked on his fucking name. The Nemesis, sorry. Nemesis, which is the big bad in Resident Evil 3, screaming and goes stars in the background. So you can look that up on YouTube if you don't want to play the damn demo yourself, of course. Stars is the special group where Jill and Chris Redfield and other members in future games I'll work for. So out chasing them out to kill some people. But I like when they do these sorts of things, like to tie them in, add little details in, Easter eggs that people find quite fast. That's always a bunch of fun. Then this is something that I'm excited about. This is like in my weird, as close as I get to weeby type stuff happening. So developer Izanagi Games announced, who have only done one game so far, some like visual novel thing, of course, have announced that the next game will be called Death Come True, and it's going to be written and directed by the Danganronpa series creator Kazutoka Kodaka. Kodaka. So he's done all Danganronpa games, of course, which I'm a big fan of. I've got Danganronpa in my room. You can't see, I don't know why. We're not doing a video this week because Ash's internet was having problems. I should have said that at the start, but nonetheless, at least I said it in the episode, full stop, because usually...
Yeah.
Don't even say it, but that's why, no video. Ash's internet was... We ruled it out. But Danganronpa, big fan, of course. But this one, taking an interesting new direction, the game will be a FMV, so full motion video game. It's going to star Kanada Hongo, who previously voiced Ryoto in Danganronpa 3 and also played the live-action version of Armin in the Attack on Titan movie. The description for the game says, Death Comes True is the latest project from Kodaka, creator of Danganronpa series. It combines movie and game elements, making an interactive movie with a story that unfolds according to decisions made by the player, which then can result in multiple different endings. Kanada Hongo takes the lead role as the main character, and Chiaki Kurami acts as the role of the female police investigator. Writing and the game direction is by Kodaka, and the producer is Shinzuki Yamada, CEO of Inzaki Games, blah, blah, blah. So they don't give out too much about the plot. There is a very short trailer you can watch where the main character walks into a room and they sort of tease this time manipulation mechanic, I guess it seems like, because it's like they see something happening and then seems like you'll kind of rewind time and be able to do sort of different actions and these sorts of things there. But I know there's like a semi-resurgence of FMV games over the last year, I guess, but like this is one that would actually get me quite excited simply because I'm like, okay, Danganronpa is batshit crazy. And I'm like, can that sort of creator come over with real actors and do a similar thing? Or would he try and do like a more super serious thing? Don't really know. The two characters that have been revealed on the website so far both look fairly normal, I guess. The main character is going to awaken in this hotel with memory loss, but turns on TV and apparently notices that they're being called a serial killer. So that's an interesting way to wake up for your day. And then the other character is actually a special investigator for the police, is going to wake up in the hotel as well. So straight away you can see there being problems to be had between the two of them when they run into one another. But I'm going to presume that they're not going to be able to escape the hotel, obviously, and that's going to kind of be the playground for the game. And then who the rest of the characters are, if it's very much like Danganronpa, it's like, okay, one of them, I guess, could potentially be in on it, like any of these sorts of elements to go. But yeah, what I'm going to have my eye out for over the next year. So it's to come out at some point in 2020. So something a little bit different for you. Would you play that, or you... Not at all up your alley? Or
probably not. I'll be honest. Not on the top of my list.
No, that's fine. All I ask is honesty. Over at GameIndustry.biz, they write Greg Rice, Christian Svensson. There you go. Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah, you're correct. Svensson joins Sony. Sony has picked up 2 new major hires to head up global operations at PlayStation, Greg Rice and Christian Svensson. Rice announced on Twitter today that he'll be Sony's new global head of indie accounts, saying, quote, I'll be managing all independent developer and publisher accounts and building new initiatives to support indies, big and small, from all over the world, he said. Rice is Double Fine's former publishing boss, having departed indie developer and publishing in November following its summer acquisition by Microsoft. Though Rice did not cite Double Fine's acquisition as a reason for leaving, Double Fine's new role as an internal development studio for Microsoft left the fate of its publishing side as an unknown, possibly necessitating Rice's Exodia. So pause on him for a hot second. I think obviously they have never confirmed that, but that's obviously what happened when Microsoft got Double Fine. They were like, well, your publishing side is now...
You can't really publish anything.
Yeah, you're now a game developer for us. You're going to be working on games. You're not going to have a publishing side. So obviously that makes sense for him. I will say that this is a very good pickup for Sony, because if you look over a bunch of games that Double Fine has been publishing over the last couple of years, specifically, he has... I mean, him and other people, but, you know, he was the head of that department. So he managed to find a bunch of really cool hits over there over the last couple of years to fight. All stuff that suited, I think this, I don't know if this is like really relevant for the Sony side stuff, but everything they managed to publish always looked like a Double Fine game too. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, Double Fine made this game. Oh no, they're just publishing it. But they always seemed like they could have been Double Fine developed games, even though they were only publishing them. So I think that was like a positive for being able to seek out stuff that actually suits Double Fine to publish out. So now I'm like, he's going to have a broader scope, obviously, with Sony. And I think, obviously, the other important thing with this is it very much says to me, okay, PS5 launch is going to be very much like PS4 launch. Sony's going to sit on the indie stuff for the first year or so. Very much like get back into that business, start picking up some more indies, do what they need to do. Because, of course, they dived off it a bit towards the end of the spectrum here. The PS4 life cycle, they weren't so heavy in the indie stuff, and that's because they had all these big heavy hitter AAA stuff having. But it very much seems like Sony's like, okay, PS5, we will have like one, you know, we'll have a couple AAAs or whatever, but we're going to have to sit back and rely on some indie stuff for a while. So they're building that part back up again. Makes sense. And he's proven to be quite good at the job, so I think that is a good hire.
So it sounds like he'd be working closely with Shuei in that developing that indie side of the Sony stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, like, so he might just be, I don't know if like Shuhei is going to be more looking towards bringing full teams inside,
like working with new, like working through the whole process. Whereas he might be more once their game's like a certain way along already independently, they might be bringing him into the fold.
Yeah, so he seems like he's just going to like more acquire games that Sony can publish on their platform and these sorts of things. Which is why that starting this position only a year or less away from the PS5 isn't actually a big deal, because a lot of the games they could end up picking up may be close to done. You know what I mean? Like it's completely different. Whereas I feel like the Shuhei thing is more like he likes to be there along the journey and like help work with people. So I think that's what his is going to be, even though they, you know, similar but different ends of the indie spectrum, I guess. And then Svensson, meanwhile, will take on the role of head of global portfolio. This change is now reflected on his Twitter bio and on LinkedIn, though he has yet to issue a statement on the new position. His former roles include senior VP at Capcom from 2005 to 2013, where he was responsible for Capcom's North and South American consumer software business. Following that, he was COO at publisher 6 Foot and in charge of games business development. So global portfolio usually means, I guess, a similar ballpark. Like they're both playing in similar sorts of things, like, but not directly with indies. It's just more relation stuff as well, I guess. I don't really know.
Yeah, so I found the job application on LinkedIn. The head of global portfolio and acquisitions will oversee the entire content pipeline from content creators, both existing and potential. This person will lead a team of people based across the globe who source, track, evaluate, and build partnerships with the best third-party publishers and developers on the planet, ensuring PlayStation is the best place to play.
Yeah. So that's like a lot of the Destiny content.
Those kind of things.
Yeah. But then it can also mean exclusive Shuhei appears in a random indie game like back in the day. You know, so it's everything from big to small partnership related stuff. So, yeah. But once again, Sony, to me, that's just the other side of Sony's plan from PS4. One of these roles is literally the indie stuff and bringing on that to help buffer PlayStation's library, PlayStation 5's library. Mm-hmm. And the other side is doing kind of what they did with Destiny, which is just getting a bunch of exclusive content with partners and whatever else and being able to market it to a degree that makes it seem like these games are exclusive, even if they're not, you know? So these two hires, to me, are like setting up a very like PS4-ish setup again, you know? Similar sort of thing happening. Any last comments on that? I got one more story.
No. I think nailed it. It's just good to see them actually hiring people instead of people just leaving.
Yeah, well, we talk every other week about someone getting fired, so
leaving.
People got hired now. So we're recording this on. I'll date this. We're recording this on Sunday. I'm only dating it so I can talk about the next story with a little bit more relevance. So I woke up at 5:30 this morning in the AM.
Why would you do that?
Yeah. In an attempt to jump into this damn Fortnite Star Wars event that was happening. And before we talk about what actually happened, I just want to say that, as I wrote in our news post, in a disappointing but predictable turn of events, Fortnite had nothing but issues for a huge amount of people this morning, myself included, as we all tried to log into Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker event. I tried for half an hour, couldn't get in. I mean, I wasn't waking up any earlier than that. Do it. I tried.
I read someone logged in 3 hours early and got kicked right before the event.
Well, that's fantastic. That's great. I tried every platform I could. None of them would work. So I was like, well, even my phone. I'm like, can I do it on my phone? No, the game wouldn't even load. So that was very good. Over on Discord, it's like, hey, people, I like this thing I posted. It's like, someone's like, same here, the language in my launcher randomly changed to Spanish. Next person's like, mine turned to Russian. And the next person's like, mine turned to Swedish, lol. I had French, I think. I also had this happen. Really annoying. I was like, oh my God. So I clicked on the first streamer I could just to see it happen live on Twitch since I was already up. So there's no way I wasn't not going to watch the damn thing on Twitch at this point. Even though, of course, I wanted to just experience the damn thing myself without anyone talking over the fucking shit. So, and I picked the wrong stream for that, sorry. But I watched Myth's stream, who also had Pokimane in the background, and they were talking a lot over it. So I was getting a little bit annoyed. So I went and found it on YouTube later and posted a different video to our news post for it. But the event had the Millennium Falcon fly in, a bunch of Star Destroyers fly in the distance, TIE fighters appear, they have like a whole dogfight. The Millennium Falcon and them have a dogfight swooping in and around the air. Pretty cool. You know, obviously it would have been a lot cooler if I was there in the game myself watching it, but you know, whatever. It then lands, the Millennium Falcon lands, and this is obviously the cool part of this that's very easy to overlook, which is that Jeff Keighley appears, and all of this stuff here, this interaction is live. Like, I think, and that's kind of my constant intrigue with these Fortnite events is they're constantly pushing what they can do with live events in games, which I think is actually important towards not just Fortnite going forward, but just as a technology you can do in games, because I think it's like quite interesting, obviously, just being able to do live things like this, where years ago this sort of thing would have to be pre-recorded and everything. So Jeff Keighley comes out and introduces himself, does the whole thing, does a bunch of corny, everyone, you know, do your favorite emote, this sort of thing, where I'm like, oh my God, fucking, can we please not? And then some stormtrooper was there, they had a bunch of gags, they went on for a bit too long. JJ Abrams then runs out of the Falcon and says hi to everyone and has a few jokes and whatever else. Then they ask everyone to vote on, everyone had to pick between options of Jedi Mind Trick, Rey and Kylo Power Ballad, Darth Jar Jar, and Knights of Ren as to which clip they thought JJ had brought to play for them during the event. Because the whole thing was they was going to play an exclusive clip. The majority picked Jedi Mind Trick. JJ then said, oh, if that's the one you want to watch, then that's the one we'll play. So then that made me wonder if that was really how it was going to go, or if there was a Darth Jar Jar clip. If that was the one that was most clicked. I don't know.
Hope so.
The clip maybe. The clip they played wasn't that interesting. It was only like 20 20, 30 seconds. And the end part of it had been seen in a TV spot before. So it was really only like the first half of this clip that was actually exclusive in the long run. It was definitely like the reason to do this event would have been for the interactive like part of being there, seeing him talking, not for the actual clip part. I don't think that was the standout. And then the event ended with Palpatine saying everything slowed down. Everyone went in slow motion as the Falcon and everything took off. And then you hear Palpatine say, at last, the work of generations is complete. The great era is corrected. The day of victory is at hand. The day of revenge. The day of the Sith. And then chest appears and everyone got lightsabers. And then if you jump into Fortnite at the moment, you can find lightsabers and go around and kill people with lightsabers dressed up as Rey and whatever else. So that's kind of the event that's happening in Fortnite at the moment. It's the only Fortnite event I've watched or sort of semi-participated in live, I guess. Obviously, it wasn't the way I wanted it to be. I'm sure it would have been more fun.
Yeah.
I was actually in the fucking game. But yeah, what did you... do you have any thoughts on this whole thing? The technology of it all, I guess? Because that's the part that I still find most interesting. Just the fact that they can be in there and interact and do these things on the go and have the voiceover come through. And
it opens the world up for potential future brands, I guess. I can't imagine anything that would compete with Star Wars.
I guess that's why the game crashed so much.
That's why the game crashed so much. Everybody was trying to get in. They should have picked a different time, then less people might have showed up. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, step up from their last crossover with the Australian TV show The Block.
That's a classic one. Classic. Are you going to
classic
jump in,
game.
try any of the lightsaber stuff?
Yeah, who doesn't want to try and use a lightsaber? See if it plays better than Jedi Fallen Order.
But you do try out these, yeah. Well, you do enjoy these Fortnite events. You've done more of them. So.
Yeah, I've dabbled in a couple. So I mean, it's on the PlayStation. Might as well just jump in for a round or two. Still got to try out that Apex mode as well, which was announced at the Game Awards.
Christmas time.
Yeah, Christmas time. So maybe if I get some free time between now and
yeah, like maybe if I'm going to jump in and try out the Star Wars mode, maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll do a round or two before I go watch the movie to see if it's exciting. Jedis don't build shit though. Just making that rule right now.
I think we discussed off air the cost of these skins is mental.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I'll spend $5 for a joke to buy a Rey skin. That'll be fun. I'll do that, and then found out it was going to cost me like $10 more likely or whatever it was. So I was like, no, thank you. There's no way to earn V-Bucks in the game, is there? I don't know how Fortnite works.
Through the game Battle Pass, I believe. Like you pay and then you earn
You have to pay and then you
You earn V-Bucks through that. But
well, that's not helpful at all. Doesn't help my case.
Not really. Not in your situation.
No, it does not. There you go. So that was the Fortnite event that I woke up
you earn V-Bucks by giving it money. So
no.
And you earn money through working a job.
I'm not doing that. Not going to happen. That'll do it for this week's episode of Platinum Explosion. You can follow me on Twitter, of course, at Vivaladil, VIVALADIL. You can follow Ash on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY. You can follow the show at Twitter at Podcast. You can help the show by giving us a review on either Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. Alternatively, just send us a tweet and be like, yeah, I like the show, it's really good, thank you. And then you can join our Discord at explosionnetwork.com/Discord. And this is, of course, a product of Explosion Network, of which you can find many more shows, articles, news, reviews at explosionnetwork.com. We have 2 episodes left for the year. Exciting. Follow Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod. And until next week, which will be the second last episode of the year, remember that every trophy counts.